Come on. Come here. Sasha. Come here, Sasha. Come here. Come on. Come on. Hey. Hey, big boy. This is Yin Chantress, aka Honey Tea, also known as Yin's a Star, or just plain on Yin, coming today because I have a whole lot to say. I wanted to talk about Colorado University, and I wanted to talk about my concern for Shedeur Sanders. If you're not aware, Shedeur Sanders is the son of Deion Sanders. He is his he's his third son, and he's starting quarterback for Colorado University. And Deion has been the head coach for Colorado University since December, if I'm not mistaken. And since January, I've been making note of. Okay, let me rewind. I saw a video where Shedeur's grandmother, Deion's mom, asked Deion about was Shedeur gonna be protected. I remember seeing that video, and so since seeing her ask that question, I've been following the teams that he's on. First, he was at Jackson State, and now he's at Colorado University. And from the onset, I saw that Shedeur didn't have what he needed to be protected based on what the O-line was given. Now, there's been a lot of talk and a lot of chatter about how fast the team is, how quick their footwork is, and so, okay, yeah, that's needed to accumulate, yardage within a regulation. But what about Shedeur? What about the O-line? And I just did not believe, based on my personal perception, that Shedeur was getting what he needed to be protected. And so now, after all these months of saying it, going in different comment sections where people were talking about 4-star wide receivers, 5-star wide receivers, and on and on. If you've been following the story, you know what I'm talking about. And months and months and months of me asking that question, and now it looks like the coach for the O-line is not satisfied. There's only about 2 months left of practice with what they've recruited, for this team to get them in shape for that whistle blow, that coin toss, whatever it is that happens at that level of the first game for this division. This is a whole new division for Deion Sanders. He's in the Pac-12, and so he's coaching a Pac-12 school. He's gone from HBCU to this, and that's accomplishment. But winning games is another category. And so I wanted to come and talk about that. And I remember I commented about this a few weeks ago. And I posed the question, was Shedeur Sanders gonna be protected? Did he have enough protection from the O-line? And someone came in and commented under me and said that, oh, you know what, I'm really surprised that you know as much as you do about football, considering I'm female. And so I explained to them that, yeah, I'm almost 60. But in 1978, 79, I was invited to join our varsity football team, the high school that I went to. The coach at the time saw that I had a gift and a talent, and I'm going to go back and tell you how that transpired. I've always been athletic. I've always been active. And my daddy had no sons, so a lot of times I was just involved. And then also to give you a little bit more background, my father was athletic. He was a tri sport athlete back in the 40s, in the 50s when it was unheard of. And he was a pretty good athlete. He just did not pursue it because his focus was not on athletics. But he played baseball. He was pretty good. He played football. He was good. And he was a running back, and he also played basketball. Made varsity. That's how my mom met him. And he was shooting 3-pointers back in the 50s when it was unheard of to shoot 3-pointers. And based on my recollection and the history of it all, that his coach used to be upset with him because he was disrupting the flow and the energy of the game, because these games were not set up and strategized and based on players shooting 3-pointers. So when he would shoot the 3-pointer, he was pretty much creating static, because the opposing team, as well as the team that he was on, was not prepared for him to do that. So it was unnecessary as far as the coach was concerned. So I grew up under this tutelage. My daddy was progressive, and he just did things that no one else was doing. So he was a tri-sport athlete in high school. He was very good. He could have gone on further, I'm sure, to do other things, but that just wasn't his focus. And another bit of trivia is that his cousin was Henry Hank Aaron, and I grew up knowing that. So we lived, not even 2 miles, not even a mile from where Hank Aaron grew up. So I knew that was my cousin, but to me that was just my cousin. I didn't understand until I grew into maturity of what that meant to everybody else. So there's definitely some talent in my genes, and even in my offspring, as well as my grandchildren. So it's no fluke. So back to the person who said that they were very surprised that I was aware that he needed the O-line. And so I gave him my background and told him that in 78, 79, I was always curious, always active. And most of the girls my age were not active the way that I was. So I found kinship with boys. I could hold it with the best of my age. And so because of that, the boys were surprised by it, because here I was, this, as far as they were concerned, this attractive, pretty little thing, and to see them hold it with the best of them, that they found that to be rather intriguing. So I would hang out, with the boys wrestling team. I would hang out with the boys football team. And so I would go to the boys football team practices. And I found out that I was very good at kicking. I wasn't surprised by that, because I was an excellent hurdler, and I was on the track team. But I just didn't like the idea of me jumping over and my legs being spread wide open. Something about that just rubbed me the wrong way. So even though I was good at it, because of whatever that was that affected me, with me having to open my legs and stretch my legs to get over that bar, I just said, you know what, I'm not going to do it. And the coach was kind of, upset about that, because he was like, but you're so good at it. He was like, we can get past it. But I just couldn't get past me opening my legs. And I remember an incident where I was practicing, and I was hitting the hurdles. Hitting it just precision. And I remember I looked over to the side, and there was this one boy who was a little bit older than me. He was just staring at me, and I didn't like the way it felt. So I was like, okay, that's it for me. But anyway, so I would be after school practicing, watching the practice of the football team. And so I became very familiar with the players. And one of my friends at the time was Dana Purvis, and he played football. If I'm not mistaken, he was a running back. But anyway, I digress. So one day, the kicker was practicing, and as far as I was concerned, his skills was a little weak. And I challenged him one day. I was like, I bet you I can kick that ball farther than you can. And he started laughing. He was like, sure, yeah, whatever. He was like, okay, get your butt over here. And I got over there, and they set the ball up. The other player put his, hand on the ball to hold it. And I took those steps and got to the ball, and I kicked it. And everybody was like, oh, she can dust you. I believe she can do it. And so I told him, I said, I bet I can outkick you. So I let him go first, and he kicked it. And then my turn came, and I kicked it, and I beat him by 15 yards. So the coach came over, and he was like, you know what? He said, you really have. And he said, you have a gift. He said, you should talk to your parents, and you should have them take you to the school board, and I'll come and I'll be there as well to attest. He said, so that you can play in regulation. He said, because you out here practicing, and you just as good or better than the kicker that we have that starts. He said, so let's push this forward. So I went home. I was pretty excited. I wasn't excited from the point of being the first female in our district or the first female ever to participate in the high school football team. I was just excited that I could play. And so I went home and I talked to my dad. I was like, Dad, I need you to sign these papers. And I need you to go with me to the school board so that we can get some rules changed. And my coach is coming to, testify that I have the talent and the gift enough to play within a regulation game, and that the rules need to be changed so that they can accommodate me. And my dad looked at me and he laughed. I was like, oh, I knew when I saw that, I was like, oh, well. And he said, what do I look like allowing my daughter to play football? He said, furthermore, he said, you way too pretty for that. And I remember my heart just dropped. And I went back and I told the coach, and I don't even remember what his response was, but he still allowed me to come around and practice. I would practice with the guys, and then after the season was over, and they went as far as they went that year. This was 79. I was just so I think I just blanked out because I really wanted to play. And so what I did was I put more focus on the boys wrestling team, and because to me at that point, being propositioned with the opportunity to play and I couldn't play, I just didn't even want to do it anymore. So now when I look at the females that are actually in regulation in football games that are mostly male, and I see their skill, ability, and their gifts and talents, and mine were beyond that. So it makes me be aware when I'm watching football, aspects of football that maybe the average female may not be aware of. So that made that guy say, I'm surprised that you're as aware as you are about what's needed to protect Shedeur. And I'm aware of that because I would be, if I had actually gone on to play in these regulated games, I had already been, given what they were willing to do to protect me. That because I was a female, because this was something that was not done or heard of, that there were going to be opposing teams that were going to want to take me out and were going to want to sack me, and they were going to want to hurt me. Some were just going to want to tackle me just to be physically on me. And so the coach had explained that to me, so it gave me an understanding about, what is needed to protect the kicker as well as the quarterback. So that's why I was able to know that Shedeur does not, in my opinion, he does not have what he needs to be protected. So in this upcoming season for Colorado University, I just think because of all the histrionics, all the theatrics, all the circus acts that have been transpiring, since Dion took the job, that there are going to be teams that are actually preparing their team to put Shedeur in the dirt. And so because of that, I have a concern for him. I have an affinity for and a concern for him as CU quarterback. I really do. My heart is attached to it. So I'm not a CU fan. I'm from Texas, but originally born and raised in Alabama. So I'm not a Colorado University fan. But because of all this hoopla and circus acts and, like I said, histrionics, I'm going to watch them play. I want to see how all this pans out. And I have a care and a concern for Shedeur. So I think his name is Coach Boyle, can whip these guys into shape, because at this point, whoever's going to be there protecting him is there. I don't think it's going to be many new components incorporated. Protect Shedeur at all costs. I'm going to say it again. Protect Shedeur. That's what we need to have happen.